Question number 1, will we offer a fully remote learning experience? We will not be able to offer a fully remote learning experience unless we are directed to go fully remote by the Vermont Department of Health and the Agency of Education. The reason being is we simply can't offer two formats of academics. We just don't have the staff.
Facial coverings. Many questions about facial coverings, such as, will they be required? The answer is yes. As you know, the governor has asked all of us in Vermont to wear facial coverings, whether we are inside or outside, when physical distancing cannot be possible. So all of our students and our staff will be wearing facial coverings, and we are going to provide some for you coming the week of August 17th. Do you have to wear those masks? No, you do not. We want our students to be safe and comfortable, so you don't have to wear the facial coverings that we are providing. However, we would love it if you did and highly recommend it. But you may lose one, or it might become lost in the car seat or dirty, so you don't have to. However, we do ask that if you are going to use your own facial covering, that it is appropriate for school. So no foul language, of course, no scary monsters, or anything that might be inappropriate for school. But what about pre-K? Pre-K kids are so much younger. How are they going to wear masks? We are going to encourage our pre-K kids to wear masks as much as possible. We understand they have different developmental needs, and it's going to be a little bit more challenging for them. We're going to work with our kids and try to keep them as safe as possible.
What will arrival time look like? Well, we're going to have 2 locations for arrival this year. In previous years, everyone entered in through the main entrance. This year, we'll be utilizing both entrances of the school. Let's start with pre-K. If you have a child who will be participating in our pre-K 3 or pre-K 4 program, your entire family will enter in through the pre-K wing anytime between 7:30 and 7:50. Because our pre-K students require a parent or a guardian to accompany them into the school, parents or guardians will be permitted to enter into the building. Those parents and guardians will need to go through the health screening just as the students will. Families will enter in after the screening has been completed, sanitize hands, and go directly to the classroom. So the pre-K parent or pre-K guardian will accompany their pre-K student directly to the classroom, whereas if there's an older sibling who is in the K through 8 section of the school, that student will proceed directly to his or her homeroom class. Now, if you don't have a pre-K student, you will pull up along the curb in front of the main entrance of the school here. A health screening will be conducted before your student exits the vehicle. So as the health screener approaches the vehicle, we ask that members inside the car put their masks on so that we can safely conduct the health screening. Once that screening is finished, the students will exit the vehicle, sanitize their hands at the entrance of the school, and then report directly to homeroom.
So there were many questions about school supply lists. We know that when we asked our teachers to complete their school supply list as part of their summer mailing letters, we didn't know that these things, wipes, disinfecting wipes, were still going to be hard to find this August. And hand sanitizer, so many recalled brands. So if you can't find sanitizing wipes, that's okay. Maybe instead you could donate to your child's classroom a bottle of bleach, and then we'll make a safe bleach and water solution that our teachers can use in their classrooms. Hand sanitizer, double check your labels and use the website. We're going to post that website about recalled brands right on our COVID-19 website, on our BJAMS.org website, and you can check out that list and make sure your brand of hand sanitizer is okay. When can you bring these school supplies in? Well, we're going to be providing some information very soon via email about pickup of your facial coverings, your car numbers for dismissal, and when you can drop off supplies. So look for that email, because the week of August 17th is going to be the week that you can drop off supplies and pick up supplies.
Next question. Will you start early with remote learning? Well, as you know, our calendar was adjusted last week. The governor's executive order required that all public and independent schools begin on September 8th. So we had to adjust our start date. We can't start earlier than that because the executive order reads very specifically, because the governor mentions that learning for in-person and learning remotely cannot begin before September 8th. What's more is we feel strongly that establishing our community of learners is really important to do right off the bat in person, because as we all know, learning is about relationships.
How many days will we be required now that school is starting 2 weeks later? This is a question many parents have on their mind. The answer is, we're not sure yet. The only people that can decide how many days in school is the state legislature, and the state legislature is not meeting until the end of August to decide this. Once they meet, we'll have the information and we will be able to adjust our calendar accordingly.
Our next question is, what about sports? So at this point, we're in a holding pattern. We cannot hold any practices until the first day of school, and we're hopeful that between now and September 8th, we will receive more guidance and updated information about what's possible with sports. Currently, several camps are happening, several soccer camps. So our best guess is that the state will use data and information from those experiences to help inform what the plan is for the fall. So the short answer is, we'll let you know as soon as we know.
What happens if one of our students contacts the coronavirus or one of their family members? This is a question on everybody's minds. Well, we will call the Vermont State Department of Health, and they will guide us from start to finish on the entire process. They will let us know what we have to do as far as sanitizing, whether or not we need to move to remote learning, and how we need to contact all of our families. They'll provide all of that information if somebody in our community contacts coronavirus.
Next question. Will I have to teach my child during distance learning? Wow, we all learned an awful lot this past spring. I know families learned a lot. I also know that the school learned a lot. And we're very grateful for all of the feedback that you as families provided in our distance learning survey that we administered in May of 2020. So basically, we took all that feedback and we applied it to our plan should we have to go remote this coming year. So what we've done is we are now encouraging our teachers to provide more direct instruction through video conferencing, thanks to your feedback. We also would like to provide as much support as we can during school hours for students who might be struggling a little bit or who might need a little bit of extra support. Currently, our plan is to offer direct instruction during the morning, and in the afternoons provide what we're calling office hours or teacher availability for students who might need to work one-on-one or in small groups with their teachers. So you might need to provide some support for your student depending on age and the student's comfort level with the subject. However, our goal is to really increase direct instruction between teachers and students.
Next question, what will social distancing look like in our classrooms? Well, let's start with pre-K. Pre-K, a little bit different. We've got 3 and 4-year-olds this year, and we know 3 and 4-year-olds have a hard time keeping their distance from anyone, whether there's a pandemic or not. So we recognize their developmental and growing needs, and we are going to work with them to help encourage them, when necessary, to keep distance. Our teachers will provide projects, activities, keeping in mind students need to be 6 feet apart as much as they can. We're also encouraging our teachers, both pre-K and all the way up through 8th grade, to be outside as much as possible. We're looking at different options to help us with that, maybe a tent, If you have a tent, that would be really great. But helping to get outside as much as possible. Holly Boucher is on her crusade for an outdoor classroom, so if you want to help her with that, contact Mrs. Boucher. What will it look like in our K-8 classrooms? Well, the restrictions right now say to keep our desks as far apart as we can, to increase social distancing, to have our kids wash our hands, and so that's what we're going to do. As best as possible, our teachers are going to design their classrooms with desks facing forward in rows. They won't be in groups anymore like you might be used to seeing. If the classroom has tables, children are going to be seated as far apart as possible. We're going to make our very best effort at keeping our students safely social distant.
The next question is, will the number of adults entering and leaving classrooms be limited? Great question. So this year, we actually won't be able to welcome in families beyond the entryway. We are only permitted in the K-8 wing to welcome the students, and of course, as mentioned earlier, in the pre-K wing for pre-K students, parents and guardians are permitted to enter into the classroom to get their child settled, and then they depart, and then at pickup again, the parent or guardian is able to enter into the classroom to retrieve the child, and then they depart. Keeping in mind, of course, that during both times, the parent and guardian will have to participate in a health screening. So in terms of who are the adults entering and exiting classrooms during the school day, so only school staff will be entering in and out of classrooms when necessary. So for example, Madame Wicks will be entering into homerooms K through 8 to provide French instruction. And in the pre-K wing, for example, Mr. Buchek will be entering into pre-K 4 to be able to participate in different PE activities with that group of students. So we have had to limit visitors in the school per directives from the Vermont Department of Health and the Agency of Education. And now the question that's on a lot of your minds, not that the others haven't been, but this one has to do with finances. So the question is, will I be financially responsible for tuition payments should the school go to distance learning? The quick answer is yes. All teachers and staff have contracts that have been signed and filed, and we absolutely have no idea what the future holds, although I think most of us are wondering if we are going to need to go remote for pockets of time based on whatever data the Vermont Department of Health has and the recommendations of the Vermont Department of Health to the Agency of Education. Here's the thing. In a perfect world, maybe we would be able to go month to month with tuition payments, but that would mean that I would have to go month to month with teacher contracts. And they simply don't go hand in hand. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. And many of our costs here at the school are fixed. And so in order to run our school effectively and in order for teachers and staff to still receive paychecks, we still have to charge tuition, and we aren't able to alter the tuition payments based on what we are directed to do with regard to distance learning versus in-person learning. If you have any questions about that specifically, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to chat with you more in detail about that.
So before we go, we want to just update you on when you can pick up and drop off classroom supplies. We will be sending out an email with all of this information, but we wanted to give you a head start with the pickup of supplies. That'll happen August 17th, 18th, and 19th from 9 to 3. On Thursday and Friday, August 20th and 21st, it will be available between 5 and 7. We'll have tables set up outside with Ziploc bags containing facial coverings for your student. Special thanks to Michelle Tomlinson, Melissa Bovair, and Katie Marvin for accomplishing those. Katie and Melissa spent countless hours sewing buffs. Michelle was very instrumental in getting our facial coverings with our online store provided for our students. You can still buy extra coverings on our online store. You also, in that Ziploc bag, will have your magnetized number for dismissal. That'll go on the side of your car when you pick up. Special thanks to Great Big Graphics for those. And if you need to drop off bleach, hand sanitizer, tissues, any of that stuff, we'll have bins outside for you to place those in on those days. But don't worry, we'll be sending you an email with all that information.